Well, there you go, it's the first trip back to the club lake in quite some time, but it's nice to pick up where we left off. He's only a little one, but it's nice to get off the mark. Fishing at super long range, checking out some of the new gear from Daiwa. So we'll slip this guy back and then check out those new products. So here it is, Daiwa's latest and greatest creation when it comes to spodding. This is the Daiwa Tournament Spod Rod and the Super Spod Reel. Now these are designed to sit at the top of the tree with the Tournament Spod Rod, complementing rods such as the Beziers and the Infinity range. So let's start off with the rod, run through some of those specs, which as you can see is well capable of fishing at super long ranges as we are today. So without further ado, let's check out the finer details on this awesome spod rod. So as I mentioned, the Tournament Spod Rod is designed to sit at the top of the tree, complementing Daiwa's highest end rods. It utilises all of Daiwa's latest design and material technologies to ensure that you've got the highest performance spod rod that you could possibly get. Now over the last couple of years, Daiwa have started producing dedicated spod rods, and they've done plenty of testing over those years, finding that the 5 pound test curve is the absolute sweet spot when it comes to spodding, whether that's at general sort of typical fishing ranges or even when you're really pushing rods to their limit. That 5 pound test curve is perfect for launching a fully loaded spod to the absolute moon. Now there's two different rods available. You've got the standard 12 foot and this one, which is the 13 foot, perfect for those super long ranges, as I mentioned, like we're fishing here today. So if you do a lot of fishing where you're fishing over 30 wraps, then this 13 footer is going to be the one that you want to go for, whereas the 12 footer will pretty much cope with any situation up to the really long ranges. But if you're doing a lot of long range fishing, I would always recommend getting the longer model. Now when it comes to the actual technology used, the first thing is, just like those Infinity and the Bezier rods, it uses X45. Now this is basically a cross wrap of carbon around the actual mandrel, and basically what that does is it stops torsion and twisting of the rod. So basically the rod is nice and true and it snaps clean and straight, ensuring that you get maximum accuracy and also maximum power transfer from you compressing the rod to that spod flying out to the distance. So the next bit of technology to take into consideration is it utilises high volume fibre. Now basically what this is it's a reduction of the resin that's in the material, so you've got more carbon in there, and what this basically does is it means that you've got a lighter, stronger and stiffer blank, which basically just makes it a joy to use and also increases the performance of the rod whilst keeping that weight down. Next up you've got V-joint alpha, which basically is the fitting between the tip and the butt of the rod, and this basically ensures that you've got a real smooth action throughout the rod, making sure that there's no flat spots, ensuring that there's that full power transfer all the way through the rod. Up the blank, Daiwa have utilised C-guide TDG guides, and these are really minimalistic, super lightweight and are perfect for using with braid too. And you've also got a high diameter anti-frap tip ring, which reduces any chance of the braid wrapping around the tip, and it stops that sort of annoying little sensation when you go to cast and you just feel the braid catch off the tip ring, and it makes you sort of think, oh, is that wrapped up? That doesn't happen because you've got a really nice smooth profile over that tip ring. So then moving down to the butt end of the rod, they've kept the styling very similar to those high-end rods, keeping a very minimal look. You've got 3 little width sections, one at 6 inches, one at a foot, and then one at 2 foot up here for when you want to use it as a marker rod. You've then got a nice little glossy section here with the minimalistic decals, and then on the actual handle itself you've got Fuji DPS reel seat and a very minimalistic, nice, slim Japanese shrink wrap handle. Now the idea of this is that it's very clean, very minimalistic styling on the actual handle, so that when it gets caked in spod mix and stuff, it makes it very easy to clean down. So that's about it on the actual tournament spod rod itself, but all in all, it's a phenomenal rod, utilising all that latest technology to make it a real pleasure to use. And also for those of you who like a bit of made in England, as you can see from the little Union Jack logo underneath, this rod, like Daiwa's other top end rods, are made right here in the UK too. So now moving on to the reel, this is Daiwa's Super Spod reel, for which the full name is quite long, quite wordy, but each of the different letters means something. So it's the Super Spod 45 SCW 5000C QD OT. Now that's a real mouthful, but basically it's telling you everything you need to know about the reel. So let's run through what all of those mean, everything you need to know about the Super Spod reel, and why it's a fantastic piece of kit. So Daiwa's Emblem Spod has long been the tool that a lot of top anglers use for their spodding, and the Super Spod is designed to replace that, outperforming it in every possible way. Now the first thing that you'll instantly recognise is that the new Super Spod is more in keeping with Daiwa's latest reels, utilising that classic long tapered 45mm ultra long cast spool. Now in testing they found this 45mm spool, in comparison to the reverse taper spool that was originally on the Emblem Spod reel, actually is much better for fishing at long range, and in like for like comparisons it can give you as much as 10 to 15 metres on a cast. Now when you're fishing at super long range, really pushing your distance to the absolute limits that you can, an extra 10 to 15 metres is a massive amount of distance. That could be the difference between falling short and having bait all over the place, not landing on your spot, and consistently hitting that clip and ensuring that your bait is nice and tight over your spot. So the next few letters on that list is SCW, and basically what this is slow cross wrap, which is a technology used on pretty much all of Daiwa's latest reels. This achieves much better line lay, basically due to having more wraps of line around the spool per oscillation of that spool. So this lays the line nice and parallel, but it also means that you get a slight crossover, which means that the braid doesn't dig down into itself, and this ensures it can fly off the spool with minimal friction. Now the original Emblem Spod was a real workhorse of a reel, but this just makes everything much more refined, having 6 ball bearings instead of 4, making it a much smoother reel to use too. Now that stops it from being clanking around whilst you're winding in, and just makes the whole experience a lot more pleasurable. On top of this, the reel is also substantially lighter, being 620 grams rather than about 690 grams, and that's thanks to the use of a DS4 body and Zion 5 air rotor. Basically, these are really high-tech materials, and it basically keeps the body really lightweight while still being strong and rigid. So Daiwa have also updated the gearing inside, so you've got DigiGear 2, and the reel retrieves 118 centimetres of line per turn of the handle, so you can ensure that when you're fishing at those long ranges, you can skip that spod across the surface nice and quickly. Now the next bit of technology that I want to draw your attention to is actually the drag on the front of the reel. Now this is Daiwa's QDM drag system, which is basically like quick drag medium. Now this basically gives you a little bit more play between being free spooled and locked up, but it's still really quick, so that you can crank it up tight nice and quickly to ensure that you've got no slippage on that spool whatsoever. The spools have got 2 high impact line clips, which is a really handy feature for when you're fishing 2 different spots. It means you don't need to constantly wrap up for both spots. You can just have both of them clipped up, spod over your short spot, take the clip off, and then spod over your long spot without then having to re-clip in between. Then moving down, you've got the typical one-touch folding handle, which is always a really nice touch on these, ensuring that you can just pack it away really quickly, and it's got a nice, comfortable rubberized handle knob there as well, giving you plenty of grip in wet conditions when constantly reeling in. So there you go, that's pretty much everything that you need to know about the Super Spod reel, and in combination with the Tournament Spod rod, this really is the dream combination from Daiwa. Now, having a dream combination comes at a price, and for the Tournament Spod rod in particular, that's one hell of a price. But like I said, it's designed to complement things like the Bezier rods too, which should give you a bit of an idea. The retail price on the Tournament Spod rod comes in at £524.99. So it is bloody expensive, but for those of you who really want the best of the best and love their Daiwa kit, then the Tournament Spod rod is going to be the rod for you. Then the Super Spod reel retails at £190, providing you everything that you'd want from a Spod reel. So if you want any more information on either of these two great new products from Daiwa, head over to their carp website, www.daiwacarp.com.